Welcome to the latest webinar that we have, which is the review of current and future projects in Riyadh with Ed James, the Director of Content and Analysis at MEED Projects. He will be taking a look through all the upcoming projects, all the upcoming work that is in the capital. And I will be covering a couple of slides about the Big Five Saudi and the move to Riyadh that we're doing for March 2021. So I'm just going to hand over to Ed now. Welcome, Ed, to our webinar. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Alexia. How are you?
I'm good,
and thank you very much for having me on this afternoon. So good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well and staying safe during this difficult time. As Alexia kindly introduced, we are going to today give a brief overview and review of current and future projects in Riyadh and the surrounding area in Saudi Arabia. And of course, this presentation and an outline of the projects market in Riyadh is in association with DMG and of course in line with the Big Five Saudi event to be held next year in Riyadh from the 7th to 10th of March, as you can see on the screen here. So my presentation will be approximately 20 to 30 minutes long. It is being recorded and I believe it will be put up on YouTube once it's been edited. So don't feel you've got to note everything down today, because there is quite a lot of data in here. You'll be able to look at it in your own time. Of course, if you do want more information or you have any clarifications required after this, you've got my contact details here, my mobile number, my email address, and please reach out to me. Once this webinar is, I've gone through the presentation, I will then happily take any questions you might have. There's a Q&A box, so please feel free to enter any questions you might have. And at the end of the presentation, I'll attempt, if I can, to answer any of your questions that you might have. So please remember that, and anytime you want to, during the presentation, you have something you want to clarify, enter it in the box, and then we'll answer it at the end. Okay, so let's move on. First of all, just by way of introduction, most of the data in this presentation is sourced from MEED Projects. MEED Projects is a product of the MEED brand. It is a projects tracking tool and website tracking all major projects in the MENA region, of course, a lot of which are going to be in Saudi Arabia. And it's by tracking these tens of thousands of projects that we are able to quantify the sizes of different sectors, what's happening in each market, who are the biggest contractors, forecast, and so on. If you want to know more about MEED Projects, and please either contact me or go along and click on the website, which is www.meedprojects.com. Okay, let's go and look at the Riyadh projects market. So, as I said, today we're looking at projects in and around Riyadh, in the Riyadh region of Saudi Arabia. Riyadh is, of course, the capital of Saudi Arabia and the largest city in the GCC, and so is and has been an epicenter of construction projects over the last 2 decades or so, and is going to be a major center of project activity going forward. And during this presentation, I'll outline to you some of the key projects which are coming up and give you some facts and figures which will hopefully help you understand the market there a little better, as well as be able to understand what some of the opportunities are for your companies. Okay, so let's kick off first of all by putting into context the projects market in Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia at the end of 2019 was once again the largest projects market in the GCC region, with about $46 billion worth of contracts awarded. It had a couple of tricky years following the falls in oil prices in 2014, 15, 16, and was lagging behind the UAE. But last year, there was a very substantial increase in project spending, as you can see on this graph, going up from about $30 billion to $46 billion last year, making it the largest market in the region. Perhaps not that surprising, given it has the largest economy and also the largest population. So we had about $102 billion worth of contracts awarded last year in the GCC. So yeah, $46 billion, Saudi Arabia represents nearly 50% of all projects and contracts awarded last year in the region. You can see how it compares with other markets. UAE's second largest market, and then you've got Qatar, Oman, Kuwait lower down. And within Saudi Arabia, the largest projects market in the region, we've got several provinces, regions in the kingdom. And as you can see here, Riyadh is the second largest province or area in the kingdom after the Eastern Province. Now, Eastern Province is where all the oil and gas activity is. So most of the oil and gas production takes place in the big processing facilities and petrochemical plants. So that has historically been the largest geographical area in terms of project activity in the kingdom. However, if you strip away the oil and gas, you can see here that in second place, Riyadh is the second largest destination for project activity in the kingdom, then followed by Mecca, Jizan, Medina, Tabuk, northern borders, and so on. So Riyadh, within the largest projects market in the region, in the GCC, is also the second largest projects market within Saudi Arabia. And you can see here in the last 9 years, since 2010, close to $90 billion worth of contracts, projects have been awarded in the capital area alone. So a very significant destination and projects hub. And as I said before, obviously most oil and gas activity in Saudi Arabia is on the Eastern Province, where most of the oil and gas fields are. And in Riyadh, which has very little oil and gas deposits, most of the activity over the last decade has been in the construction and transport sectors. When we say construction, we mean buildings, schools, hospitals, hotels, theme parks, clinics, universities, and so forth, airports, and so on. And you can see here that $40 billion of construction has been awarded in the last 10 years in Riyadh, and nearly $30 billion of transport projects, roads, metros, airports, and so on. So together, nearly $70 billion of projects have been awarded in the civil construction field in Riyadh last decade. Next up, we have power, close to $10 billion worth of contracts awarded. Then water, sewerage, wastewater treatment, and so forth, nearly $5 billion. Then industrial projects, in Riyadh Industrial City, for example, close to $5 billion. And then, as you might expect, very little oil, gas, and petrochemical activity in Riyadh because it has no real oil and gas fields of its own, as most of the activity in those sectors are in the Eastern Province. So let's give you some examples of some of the big contracts in Riyadh awarded over the last 10 years or so. As you can see, the largest, or three largest individual contracts were awarded about 5-6 years ago now for the Riyadh Metro lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are well underway now. They are almost completed. If you go to Riyadh, you'll see the immense amount of construction that's been involved in building these metro lines. I think it's the largest single stage metro project ever undertaken. Hundreds of kilometers of metro being built all the way from the airport in the north of the city down towards southwest Riyadh, where it will be extended to the Qiddiya theme park, which we'll come to later. So a very significant amount of work all happening at the same time, a lot of tunneling work, elevated track, new stations, a lot of road works as well as a result of it. And as you can see, close to $20 billion of contracts awarded for that metro project, which I believe is nearly finished. Last time I was in Riyadh in February, it looked very close to completion, and we should start seeing that, I think, opening up next year. So that'd be very interesting to see how that progresses. Other major contracts awarded in the last 10 years were the Princess Noura bint Abdurrahman University for Women University Complex. That's on the road toward the airport. It's a massive, completely new university campus, now completed, and was built in 3 major phases, package 1, 2, and 3. It's got its own monorail route as well there, and its own railway for monorail there. Very significant investment in education, as indeed across Saudi Arabia there's been a huge amount, tens of billions of dollars invested over the last 20 years in university projects. Likewise, also a large amount of money has been invested in healthcare. You can see here $2.68 billion was another large contract, was for the Security Forces Medical Complex in Riyadh, massive new hospital complex, universities, education and healthcare in general, what we call social infrastructure. And it's certainly one of the priority sectors for the kingdom as the population grows, and the government has prioritized investing in affordable housing and social infrastructure in order to service the growing population and need for jobs and for greater healthcare and housing and education capacity. Two interesting projects next: King Faisal Air Academy and King Salman Air Base Facilities Construction and Relocation Project. Two projects in and around Riyadh which are being demolished and moved outside of the capital. In the instance of the King Salman Air Base, actually the project is being moved to make way for the King Salman Park project, which is a very interesting project, future project, which I will be explaining in more detail later on in this presentation. Other big contracts awarded include the Avenues Riyadh Mall, 1.6 billion, King Saud University for Health Sciences, the staff housing project for King Khalid Academy, Riyadh Cement Plant, and two mega solar power complexes in Sudair to the northwest of Riyadh at 2 gigawatts, some of the biggest solar power complexes in the world, as Saudi seeks to become a leader in renewable energy. So that just gives you a flavor of some of the biggest contracts awarded over the last 10 years in Riyadh. And next we have the largest contractors in the capital area. As you can see here, it's a good mix of international and local contractors. At the top, we have Nesman Partners and ABV Rock Group, both Saudi firms, very well established, very major players in the construction scene in the kingdom. We then got Italian contractor Cellini, which has helped build the Riyadh Metro project, El Saif, another local contractor, and Al Bawani, another local contractor, and followed by Fari Construction. We've got Samsung of Korea. We've got what else? We've got FraserNet Saudi Arabia, the French JV joint venture, Thyssen Group from Germany, Arasha Trading Contracting from a local firm, and so on. So we've got a good mix of local and international contractors, and I think that demonstrates that Saudi Arabia is open for international business, that international companies can be successful in the kingdom. And obviously, when you've got international contractors being successful, you also have avenues of opportunity for suppliers as well, consultants, to come in and also win work and build their presence in the kingdom. So it is certainly a market that is open to international competition. So we saw the top contractors. What about the top clients in terms of work awarded? Well, the biggest client is the Riyadh Development Authority, the ADA, and this is the client behind the Riyadh Metro project, the largest single project in Riyadh in recent times. So that's the largest single client, naturally, followed by Saudi Electricity Company, which is the main utilities company in the kingdom. The King Abdullah Financial District, the CAFT, which is building one of the world's largest financial districts. If you come into Riyadh from the airport, you'll see this cluster of very high towers, ultra new buildings, beautifully designed, recently finished, this massive financial district, and you can't help but notice it. So that's been a very significant investment over the last few years too. And then we've got a range of ministries: Ministry of Finance, Interior, Defence and Aviation, Transport, Education. As you might expect, it is a market that is, like most other GCC states, dominated by the public sector. Most projects are funded directly by the state and by government entities, and that, I guess, is demonstrated here by the large number of public entities or public-related entities that you can see here on this ranking. Okay, so that's the last 10 years, just setting the scene for what's happened in Riyadh and what is the kind of size of projects and the kind of scale of the historical opportunity, who the biggest clients and contractors are. Now let's look forward at the future and what some of the current opportunities are that you as someone in the project space may be able to grasp and win. Okay, so what are the key short-term projects? So these are projects which are out into bid at the market. All right, so the tender's been issued, bids have been submitted in some cases, but the tender is out for contractors, and we're waiting for award very soon on them. And just to give you a flavour of some of the contracts expected to be awarded over the next few weeks and months. Top of the list is the public utilities package for the Qiddiya project. Now, if you don't know about Qiddiya, I'll be explaining it in more detail towards the end of this presentation, but it is a massive theme park project to the southwest of Riyadh, and this contract is essentially for the right to provide electricity, wastewater treatment services to this giga project, or this mega project as it's described. Next up, we've got another project as part of the third round of the renewable energy program. This is a solar project, the Saad power plant for 300 megawatts. This is a PPP project which will be developed by the private sector, funded by the private sector, and is just one of a number of solar and wind power projects which are currently underway in the kingdom. Next up, we've got judicial complex and appeal court buildings. The kingdom is planning to spend about $2 billion on building new court complexes across the country over the next few years, and this is just one of them. Then we've got another project package at the Qiddiya project. This is the sports complex. Again, I'll be talking about Qiddiya in more detail later on. We've got some road projects. We've got an expansion of a mall, another renewable energy project, a hospital, drainage work, hospital facilities, affordable housing, and so on and so on. So as you can see, there's a wide diversity of different projects currently out to bid in the market at the moment. And of course, that's just a few of them, just a sample. All right, well, longer term, what have we got of interest in the Riyadh region? Well, first of all, we got the project which I alluded to earlier, which is the King Salman International Park project in the middle of Riyadh. This is a massive project which is going to be built on the old airbase, and it's going to be the world's largest city park, and I'll explain that in more detail later on. Another really interesting project happening right now is Diriyah Gate project on the western outskirts of Riyadh. Again, I'll go into more details on this towards the end of this presentation, but that is a really interesting project on a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Several $1 billion worth of investment required, and as I said, we'll go into it in more detail. In fact, just yesterday they announced the start of work and groundbreaking on this project. We've got the expansion of Terminal 4 at the King Khalid International Airport, KKIA Airport as it's sometimes known. That's also coming out in the next couple of years. We've got the stormwater drainage project. We've got more power plants. We've got a massive new office tower at the King Abdullah Financial District. Rumours are that it will be the tallest tower in the world, but let's see about that. We've got the Mall of Saudi Arabia. We've got more ring road projects and so on. So again, we've got a broad mix of projects coming up in the medium and long term in Riyadh that we know of today. I also just found out today that Riyadh is confirmed the extension, second phase extension of the Metro project. And so we can add that to that list. Will involve further extension of 2 other lines in the capital. So that's going to also provide a lot of work in the months and years to come. So in total, according to MEED projects, we have close or just under $200 billion of known future projects in Riyadh. Here you get an idea of the mix for them. As you can see, the largest single size is mixed-use projects, $25 billion. We've then got theme parks, mainly the Qiddiya project, nearly $19 billion. Hotels, $10 billion. Villas, $7 billion. Airport, $6 billion. Oil and gas power plants, $5 billion. Museums, street works, another $8 billion. So as you can see, we've got a large number of future projects across different sectors in the Riyadh area. So it's a broad opportunity for everyone to be able to take advantage of. Just a reminder if you do have any questions throughout this presentation, I will be taking questions and answering them at the end of this presentation. So please feel free to enter them into the Q&A box, and I'll do my best to answer them afterward. Now, in total, Saudi Arabia is, as you know, as we saw from the beginning of this presentation, is the largest projects market currently in terms of contracts awarded last year, but is also by far and away the largest future projects market in the GCC as well, and indeed one of the world's largest future projects. There were more than $1.4 trillion worth of known future projects in the pipeline in the kingdom. As you can see here on this pie chart, construction is the largest single sector, close to $700 billion, or 63% of all projects in the pipeline in the kingdom. Of course, that includes about $400 billion worth of projects on the massive NEOM project, the northwest of the kingdom. Nonetheless, this is a very significant amount. We then have, what else? We have transport, $206 billion, roads, metros, airports, ports, and so on. $206 billion. We've got power, including the nuclear energy program, one of the world's largest nuclear energy programs, coming up, about $113 billion. Then we've got oil, 20 billion, industry, 16 billion, gas, and 11 billion, petrochemicals, 18 billion, and water, which is going to be a pivotal sector going forward at $24 billion. So again, an extremely large pipeline of projects in the kingdom. Again, it has the need for projects, particularly the fast-growing population that needs affordable housing. It needs more retail capacity. It needs more transport capacity. Certainly needs healthcare and residential capacity, and that's what's driving this growth in projects and the projects pipeline in general. Who are the largest future clients in the kingdom? Well, the largest future client is the King Abdullah City for Atomic Renewable Energy, which will be the client on the kingdom's nuclear energy program. Massive project. I believe later this year or early next year, the Saudis will select a nuclear energy partner, whether it be Russia, whether it be South Korea, Japan, the US, France, I don't know at this stage, but they'll select a partner to work with, and then they will start investing in what will be a massive 20 gigawatt nuclear energy program. Now we have the Metro Jeddah project. This has been around for some time now. It's just waiting for the funds to be approved to finance this. This is for a new metro and railway network in Jeddah, something to keep an eye on. We have the renewable energy program, one of the world's most ambitious renewable energy programs, looking at solar and wind projects. We've already had the first 2 rounds completed and underway, and as Saudi seeks to catch up in this sector. Aramco, of course, always going to be a major player in the oil and gas sector in the kingdom. About $20 billion worth of known future projects. Obviously, a lot more than that, but we just don't know what they are at this stage. The Public Transport Authority for Saudi Arabia, which is the body responsible for railway, road projects. That's an umbrella authority. Then we have the Riyadh Development Authority, which was the client on the Riyadh Metro. Saudi Electricity Company, the main power generator in the kingdom, and then so on. As you can see here, a large list of mainly government entities, government-related entities for the pipeline. Right, so we talked a lot about data and figures and graphs and charts. Now let's look at some of the projects themselves. Here you see on this picture, this is one of the metro stations for the Riyadh Metro, which I was talked about earlier. As you can see, a beautifully designed project. You've got dozens of these being built around the capital at the moment. And as you can see, most of these projects involve quite a lot of associated work around them. So once the project's finished, there'll be a substantial improvement into the traffic situation in Riyadh, as well as obviously improved public transport links with the metro coming on board. Okay, so let's start with a project, really exciting project, which we spoke about already today. This is the Qiddiya project. So Qiddiya is an untouched area in a canyon, actually, between 2 enormous cliffs, about 40 minutes drive southwest of the capital, Riyadh. and is designed at essentially becoming the new leisure and tourism hub for Saudi Arabia and to attract domestic tourists. Currently, a lot of Saudis travel to Dubai, UAE, or elsewhere in the world for their leisure holidays, to go to Disneyland or to go to Dubai. And the idea of this project, Qiddiya, is to create a completely new theme park leisure experience much closer to Riyadh, to try and trap this pent-up domestic demand. As you can see, it covers an area of about 334 square kilometers. It's huge, and there's 6 unique zones. Some a golf zone, an auto zone for as you can see in the picture, autodrome. You've got a retail zone and so on. It includes various retail and commercial elements as well, and it really is in a beautiful location. So work has started on that already. As we spoke about earlier, there is the tender out for the utilities, power, water provision, treatment, and so forth, district cooling at the site. And initial groundworks have also started on this, and we'll soon expect to see tenders issued for the various different zones. It's a huge project, it's being fast-tracked. The aim is to open the first phase by 2024, I believe, so there's no time to waste. It is part of the Public Investment Fund Saudi 2030 Vision Program. It's been funded directly by the state, there is money allocated to it, and I believe if you attended previous DMG webinars, you might have heard a little bit about this project from the client QIC directly. So there's something to definitely keep an eye on. As is another ongoing project, which is Diriyah Gate. This is, again, it's a massive project, about $9 billion. It essentially involves the sensitive development of a very historical and culturally important area to the west of Riyadh called Diriyah Gate. This was the birthplace of the Al Saud family dynasty, and it's plays a very important part of Saudi history and culture. And the aim here, again, it's a public investment fund, government directly financed project, is to essentially turn this World Heritage Site into a superb heritage resort comprising hotels, retail areas, a new residential area called Wadi Safar, the championship golf course, and so on. So it's a really very substantial project. And because it's a very historical project, one of the unique challenges of this is that almost all utilities, so all cabling, all substations, all roads, have to be built underground. So obviously that adds to the cost of the project and the engineering challenge, but it also means there's a lot of opportunities here for companies. So there's going to be a substantial amount of underground work there. So that's also something to keep an eye on. Diriyah Gate, the client announced just yesterday, I think, that work had started on this prestigious project, and you get an idea of some of the packages that are available in the bottom right-hand corner there. Right, next up is another very exciting, significant project called Riyadh Green. Now, Riyadh Green is actually an umbrella term for 4 major projects in the capital coming up, again, under the Saudi 2030 vision, which guides most project activity and investment in the kingdom. Essentially, if anyone has been to Riyadh will know and notice is that it's not a particularly green city. Obviously, it sits in the middle of the desert. And the ambition here is to turn Riyadh into one of the greenest cities in the world for a massive investment in parks, in forestation, in planting plants, and building new landscapes and lakes and so forth, and by treating sewage and reusing it for irrigation purposes. Essentially, Riyadh Green has got a price tag of about $23 billion, time frame of about 10 years, and it consists primarily of 4 main parts. King Salman International Park, which I'll talk about next, Green Riyadh, which is essentially the planting of trees and plants, flowers across the capital, the Sports Boulevard, which is aimed at providing a sort of outdoor sports experience, and then Riyadh Art, which is essentially the installation of various outdoor art exhibitions, statues, sculptures, paintings, and so forth across the city. And the combined aim of all these projects is to really turn make Riyadh a lot more attractive, a lot better, a lot more pleasant place to live in, allow for a lot more outdoor activities and walks and so forth, and really transform the capital into a very much more attractive place to work and live. And perhaps the biggest element of this Riyadh Green is King Salman Park, as I spoke about earlier. So this is a $9 billion project. It'll be the world's largest city park. And essentially, it's going to involve the relocation of the King Salman military airbase, currently in the city. And once that's moved, we're going to come in and you're going to build, the project is going to build a massive new park complex. It's going to have museums. It's going to comprise an equestrian centre, visitor centre. It's going to have 12,000 residential units, 16 hotels, and 500,000 square meters of retail space. It's going to be, I don't know whether this image can do it justice, but it covers a huge area. It's going to be built in 2 phases, and it's a really significant future project in the kingdom. Again, the developers, the Riyadh Development Authority, and this will offer opportunities along with the other projects for many years to come in Saudi. So I've given you a couple of an idea of a couple of major projects coming up in the capital. Of course, there are many more projects, too many to list and mention here. Some of which we don't yet know about, but it's very clear that Riyadh is the hub of construction in the kingdom, as you would expect. It is the capital, is the largest city, and is obviously going to offer a lot of work for many companies for many years to come. And you know, the location of the Big Five, Saudi in Riyadh, I think reflects that, and can't really be a better place for it to be located in a kingdom. So that's all for now. Please enter your questions into the Q&A box, and I'll pass over to Alexa. And once she finishes off, I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for now. Alexia.
Thank you very much, Ed. So just to follow on from Ed's super detailed presentation about all the upcoming projects in Riyadh, we'd like to announce that the Big Five Saudi is actually moving to Riyadh for 2021. So previously we've been in Jeddah, but for this year, moving forward from the 7th to 10th of March, we will now be moving to Riyadh International Convention and Exhibition Centre. And it's all about basically supporting the construction industry and giving them all a platform to do business, to see the latest products, to learn about the latest innovations through our education as well. So here you can see a little bit why Riyadh. So it's the most populated city in Saudi Arabia with approximately 4.2 million people. It's also, as Ed said earlier, it's the commercial capital of Saudi Arabia. Everyone is doing business in Riyadh right now. And then, as Ed also mentioned, there is more than $196 billion worth of known future products in Riyadh alone. So it's giving us a great platform to help support the construction industry, giving them a place to find new materials, new products, learn about the latest innovations, learn about new technology, attend our summits, and just see how we can further support the construction industry in Saudi Arabia. And then also new for 2021, so these are all new features we're adding to the show, is obviously we're at a new venue, that's the Riyadh International Convention and Exhibition Centre, which is a new state-of-the-art convention and exhibition facility, and it's very nicely located near the airport. We're just 15 minutes away, so for any internationals coming in, it's so easily accessible. We're now co-located with Stone and Surface Saudi Arabia as well, which is the kingdom's only event dedicated to natural stone and surface industry. It's the perfect place to find stone, marble, ceramics, and other surface design products. And it always focuses on connecting key buyers and decision makers. And then we have brand new product sectors for 2021. So we're looking at all the ways in which we can help support the industry. So we've looked at our sectors, and now we have 8 dedicated sectors that range from offsite and modular all the way through to MEP to solar. So you can find the full cycle of construction under one roof. So whatever product you're looking for, you'll be able to find it at the show as well. And then obviously brand new for this year, we're bringing in the Big Five Saudi Construction Awards, which is looking to recognize the construction industry in Saudi Arabia for sustainable development, innovation, and transformation. It's basically focusing on recognizing the communities and, promoting the transformation of economic growth in Saudi Arabia. And we really just want to honor the people, organizations, and projects that are driving the transformation in Saudi Arabia's construction industry. So that's just a little bit about our 2021 event. We just wanted to let everyone know that we were moving. It's a super important move for us. And if you have any questions about exhibiting or anything like that, just pop some messages in the Q&A and we can come back to you. But now I'm going to hand back over to Ed to answer the questions on the Riyadh projects that he spoke about earlier.
Hello again, everyone. Yeah, Alexia, you can. Yeah.
The first question we've had is come from Vikram. He said, "What will the impact of government spending in these projects, brackets design stage, due to fiscal challenges? Will there be a shift towards more PPP or BOT projects?"
Thank you, Vikram, and good question. Yes, certainly there will be more focus on PPP projects in general, not just in Saudi Arabia, but in the region as a whole. And in fact, we're already seeing that. The National Center for Privatization in Saudi Arabia is the body responsible for PPP. And we've already seen the first successful implementation of a major project outside of airports and utilities. And that is the first phase of the schools program in the Jeddah area. And indeed, we've got second and third phases of that out in the market right now. So that is a very good sign of confidence in the market, growing confidence in PPP. We've also got the King Faisal hospital expansion also under PPP, which will be the first hospital project of its type on a BOT basis as well. That's also an encouraging sign. And of course, we've got the renewable energy program, which is done on a PPP basis too. So I would fully expect, as there's more and more experience of PPP projects, more and more regulations come into place, more experience comes into place, I expect to see more PPP projects, especially given the tight financial situation at the moment. And I'm sure the government will be looking to get the private sector much more involved in developing and financing these projects. So there will be a gradual shift, and certainly we're still far from a position where most projects are done on a PPP basis. Nonetheless, that is a trend that's going to grow and continue and accelerate, not just in Saudi, but in the region as a whole for the next couple of years.
And to follow up from that, Mohammed asks, what about the wastewater sector developments currently, like STPs? Yes,
and very timely question indeed, because just last night, the Saudi Water Partnership Authority, the SWPA, which is the body responsible for the client for PPP wastewater and desalination projects, just issued 3 tenders, RFPs, to qualified developers for 3 new independent sewage treatment plants projects in Buraydah, Medina, and I can't remember where the third one is. But anyway, bids are due in December for those. And of course, these are just the 3 latest of already a dozen desalination and sewage and water treatment projects on a PPP basis in the kingdom. So that is accelerating. It's the norm now to develop these on a private sector basis. And as we've just seen, there's 3 more. And if you look at the SWPA's plan, there are at least another 24 major sewage treatment plant, desalination and water treatment plants coming up. And then, of course, in addition, there's also the privatization of existing assets as well under the SWPC program. So it's gaining traction and a lot of opportunities, not just in the kingdom in the water sector, but also region-wide.
Kamal asks, hi Ed, this is Kamal from DuPont. Do you think the government would put some of these projects on hold because of the tough time?
Yes, in a blunt answer, it's inevitable that some projects are going to be put on hold. I mean, the government has already more or less said that there's going to be some cutbacks in the capital expenditure program. The question is not if it's going to do it, but what projects will be affected. And so far, what we've seen is that the PIF, the Public Investment Fund, has said that it is pushing ahead with its Saudi 2030 vision projects like Qiddiya, Diriyah Gate, Red Sea Project, NEOM, Amala, Al Ula, etc. The big sort of prestigious mega projects that we all know about. And indeed, I think last week on another webinar of DMG, there was the head of development at the Red Sea project did announce that they were moving ahead as planned. So those projects I think are fairly safe. Also fairly safe are projects in the social infrastructure space, I think projects which are considered priority sectors like affordable housing, education, healthcare. What we might see is a slowdown or some delays on less essential projects, maybe some road projects, maybe some airport expansions, maybe some nice to have but not critical projects. I think that's just inevitable. The oil price has halved. We've got the economic slowdown at the moment, so there are some projects going to be put on hold for sure. Maybe even some cancelled. The message from the government and from the PIF is that it's business as normal for a lot of projects. So let's wait and see what happens and how the year pans out. But obviously, there's going to be some tough decisions ahead, but still lots of opportunities to go around.
Shivani asks, how easy is it for internationals to enter the Saudi market?
Good question, Shivani. It's increasingly easy to enter Saudi Arabia. The government has made it very clear that it wants Saudi Arabia to increase foreign and direct investment. It wants more and more companies to set up shop in the kingdom, create jobs, liberalize and diversify the economy. And in tandem with that objective, it has made it easier for companies to incorporate and set up in the kingdom. So with the Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority, SAGIA, and the new Foreign Direct Investment Office, there's a real concerted effort to make as easy as possible, streamline red tape, create a one-stop shop for investment and incorporating in the kingdom, reduce the time frame and the fees for doing so. And so it's never been easier to enter the market. Some sectors have been totally liberalized now so that you can have 100% foreign ownership. Some sectors are you still need to have a 51% share locally, but more and more sectors are being opened up. And the government is welcoming foreign companies and investments with open arms. You don't need, for many nationalities, you don't need a visa necessarily anymore to come into the kingdom. You can get it on arrival, which is a major change. And all efforts are being made to try and facilitate foreign investment. So it has historically had a reputation for being a slightly challenging market to do business in. This has really changed over the last 10, 15 years, and you can see the changes. It's been so fast and so rapid, and really it's even hard to compare with 5 years ago. And it's going to get easier. So there's no excuses anymore. It's open for business.
Sama asks, can you please elaborate a little bit about the vendor registration process?
Sure, Sama, no problem. Okay, so generally speaking, as you will have seen from this presentation, most clients are in the government sector. So if you are dealing with a ministry, for example, or a municipality or a government directly owned government agency, then you will need to register with the Etimad tenders website. So whether it's for supplies of equipment or materials, or whether it's tender for services, it's essential that you register with this Etimad website. It's the government tender portal nowadays. In most instances, you have to be incorporated in the kingdom in order to buy and participate in tenders for whatever your equipment or services. So that's the first step. Obviously, you also need to have a zakat license. You need to have your business license. You need to have all sorts of other certificates and licenses to prove that you're eligible to do business. You obviously also have to be licensed if you're a contractor in a certain field of a certain size and be registered and permitted to do business in that area of activity. But that would be the first process. Next, obviously there are other entities in the kingdom which aren't directly government, aren't direct government agencies. Someone like the Qiddiya investment company, or the Red Sea project company, or Diriyah Gate Authority. These don't tender through the tender board and so you need to register with each of them separately. If you go to the websites of most of these companies, they have a vendor page, and you can follow the links there and follow the instructions to register with them. So in many cases, you have to go to individually all of them and register, so that they know that your company is available for work and that you will receive the tender documents or invitations to bid for whatever project or supply equipment in due course. So it depends on your client. So you would register in different places.
Perfect. And then Juliet asks, will the government be open to different cultural business investments, i.e. West Indian restaurants, etc.?
Yes, I mean, there are many international restaurants. If I got the question correct, there are many international restaurants in Saudi Arabia: Indian, French, Italian. So yeah, I mean, it's not an issue. Saudi Arabia is opening up in more ways than one. Women no longer need to wear the hijab, for example, and the abaya in public. Women can drive now. As I said, you can get a visa on arrival for many nationalities. It really is a very different place than just 2-3 years ago. And as I said, it wants to diversify its economy. The kingdom is well aware that there's a time limit for oil demand, and that it needs to diversify and reposition itself and open up. And as I said, there's certainly a lot more open than previous years, and I'm sure any investments of case that you might have will be gladly received.
For sure. We actually trialed the visa on arrival process going into Riyadh at the end of last year, once it was announced, and it was such an easy process. I think I was through the airport within 10 minutes. Actually, it was incredibly quick. So they definitely are really opening up now, moving forward. So it's great to see it's going to be so easy to come in and out now. And then Rani also asks, how easy is it to set up a business in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I mean, I think I alluded to that in a previous question. I mean, I've never myself set up a business in Saudi Arabia, but from what I can see and hear, again, it's a lot easier than it used to be. As I said, there's a one-stop shop now for businesses, international businesses, investments to set up in the kingdom. With Sanjia, you can, they say you can just take a matter of days to incorporate. Restrictions on foreign ownership have been lifted. So now in many sectors, you can have 100% foreign ownership. The red tape has been reduced, bureaucracy has been reduced, and the cost and fees as well. Sometimes reality is slightly different than the theory, and you do hear sometimes things being a bit more problematic than that. But it's as easy as it ever has been to invest in the kingdom and set up shop there. So there are certainly many more nations in the world where it's far harder to do so, and I think you'd be pleasantly surprised if you attempted to incorporate in the kingdom. But again, with all these things, it's best to speak to the Saudi embassy in your country, speak to Sanjia, the investment authority. There's a lot of advice and information that they can provide, which I can't provide in the scope of this webinar, which will answer your questions and provide you some information about how you can invest in the kingdom.
Perfect. And then she also asks, what's the easiest way to meet these project developers who are all working on these projects as well?
Okay, well, I think the answer is staring you right here in the face. I think if you obviously if you want to meet, like any country, it can be difficult to arrange meetings from a distance. Setting up a full day of meetings in Riyadh or wherever you are in the kingdom from overseas can be difficult. And I think one of the benefits of something like the Big Five exhibition or any exhibition conference is the fact that you can meet everyone in one place. And so if you wanted to meet other contractors, suppliers, developers, clients, stakeholders in general, then something like the Saudi Big Five is obviously the place to be, because I think everyone's in one place. You can have a stand, for example, and people will, clients and stakeholders will come to you, visit your stand. You'll meet many other competitors and stakeholders and consultants and contractors there. Show off your materials or equipment, and that's what basically these events are for, to help companies, whether it's in a trade delegation or whether they come on their own, to meet potential clients. And I don't think there's any better example than that, really.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then Sama says, would the local content have certain consideration in the vendor assessment, e.g. IKT-EVA program?
Thank you, Sama. Yes, the IKT-EVA stands for the In-Kingdom Value Added Program. So that's basically where clients like Saudi Aramco insist or demand that a certain amount of the contract value is sourced from within the kingdom, either in terms of labor or equipment or services. And obviously it varies by project, depending on the sector and the type of project, but it can be up to 30% of the contract has to be sourced locally. And that definitely is a factor, particularly when it comes to Aramco contracts. And certainly if you were a vendor, then you would need to bear that in mind. And certainly as well, if you wish to bid on projects in the kingdom from the public sector side, you also have to be either locally incorporated or have a local agent. You can't just bid from overseas. You have to have some sort of registration in the kingdom. A lot of people use agents and distributors to do that, but if you want to do it directly, then you have to be incorporated. So definitely the In-Kingdom Value Added Program is something that everyone has to consider, as is, of course, the increase in VAT to 15% from the 1st of July. That's also something that every company needs to bear in mind and take legal or commercial advice on, because obviously there are things that I can't, not being an expert in some of these things, can go into, but the value added program and the VAT is something that all companies need to be aware of and to consider when bidding for work in the kingdom.
Okay, perfect. I think that's all the questions we've had today, unless anyone's got any last minute questions that they'd like to ask in the Q&A box. If there's any more. I think that's more or less it for today. Again, if you do have more questions, feel free to pop us an email on info@thebig5saudi.com, or you can email Ed James directly, and we can try to answer any additional questions you guys may have. Just to let you guys know, this entire session has been recorded, so you will receive the video recording and the physical copy of Ed's presentation as well, and that will come within the next 2 to 3 days to your inbox, so just keep an eye out. It will come from myself and Alexia. Thank you so much, Ed, for your time today and to tell us about all the massive opportunities coming up in Riyadh. We're really looking forward to it, and we're super excited to be hosting the Big 5 Saudi there next year, and we hope to welcome everyone to the show as well. Thanks again, Ed. If you've got anything you'd like to add.
No, thank you very much all for your attention. My contact details are there if you wish to get in touch with me for whatever reason whatsoever. And thank you very much, Alexia, and DMG for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I hope you found it all useful and informative. And I look forward to speaking to you all again soon and potentially meeting up with you at the Big 5 Riyadh itself next year. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have Ed and MEED at the Big 5 next year, so we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just going to end the webinar now. Just a reminder that you will receive the recording in the next few days. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next webinar. Thank you.